What is there to see if I go outside? Don't tell me I know. I could see other people. I don't want to see other people. They look awful. The men look like slobs and the women look like men. The men have mush faces framed by long hair, and the women have big noses, big jaws, big heads, and a stick-like bodies. Now that depresses me. It's so fun to people to watch anymore because there are always a variety in types. You say it's good to have a change of scenery? What scenery? New buildings, new cars, new freeways, new shopping malls? Go to the woods or a park? I saw a tree once, and the new ones look the same, which is fine. I even remember the old ones look like. My memory isn't that short, but it's worth going to see a squirrel grab a nut or fish swimming in a big tank if I must put up with the ugly, contemporarily human pollution that accompanies with each excursion. Now the squirrel may have alienated me and even reminded me of better vistas, but for the price of social interaction is all worth it. On my way to visit the squirrel, I encountered a single person who gained some stimulation of seeing me. I feel like giving more than I have received and I get sore. If every time I go somewhere and I see a fish swimming, I become somebody else's stimulation. I feel shortchanged and I bury my own fish and watch it swim. Then when I watch the fish can watch me. We could be friends and nobody else interferes with that interaction. Like trying to hear what the fish and I are talking about. I won't leave to have to get dressed in a certain way to visit the fish. I didn't need to dress in the way of my pride dedicates, but because who's going to see me? I didn't need to wear any pants, and the fish don't care. He doesn't read the tabloids, but if I go outside to see a fish other than my own, I'm right back where I started, entertaining others, which is more depleting than any visiting of the new fish is entertaining. But alas, all the things are not as they seem to be. My apartment smelled bad and old food and old clothes, other older keepsakes from time to time when I was a different man, and the behemoth of sitting behind the computer, now peeking at the places where the trash didn't take over. As you can tell by the description, I'm a fat, disgusting slob. Not once did I ever exercise at the gym, not once did I ever apply for a job, and not once did I ever have girls fall heads over heels of me. Ever since I became the biggest losers in history, that is, until I made some online friends. I first met a user by the name of Starstruck45 on DeviantArt, and everything went smoothly. That is until I found out that another user on DeviantArt had been making. You see, this channel Demon Punk has been doing a bunch of animations over since his channel first came into light. And I must admit, he is a damn good animator, doing all the sorts of things of short films and even character movements. He can make things look like they have been made by Disney or DreamWorks, and I have been following him ever since I saw his short film of an anthropomorphic animals fighting each other like something those graphic Deadpool comics. On a Saturday afternoon, I saw another part of another short film of his, and it's about dancing. Skinless men, while the song She's a Lady by Tom Jones playing in the background. This was obviously for shits and giggles that the comment section was buzzing with satisfied deviants. After that, he simply vanished for a month, and around October, Demon Punk came back and uploaded something that I did not expect to see. It wasn't like the other short films he made, but it seemed like a full-length movie. I looked at the film that was age-restricted, and it was weird since he uploaded the video with skinless men, and the title was labeled Disney's House in the Woods, which was a loose anagram of Cabin in the Woods. The movie starts with the usual 2D animation of the intro and ominous music playing in the background, which was mixed with recordings of real police calls and actual distress signals. It begins with a shot of the house of the neighbor, and then it cuts to inside to see a teenage girl by the name of Victoria, a 17-year-old girl misfit having to leave Phoenix, Arizona to move to Gatesville, a small town located in North Carolina. She will be living with her father, Frederick, and the town's police chief, and her mother, Sarah, who is remarried to Jack, a construction worker. Victoria becomes acquainted with the Sampson morality and the muscle-bound teen who lives with his father. Still at her new high school, Victoria makes friends, but she is particularly intrigued by the mysterious and aloof Nash siblings. Victoria is sitting next to our Scarlet Nash in biology class in the first day, but as she seemed to be repulsive by her. After a week of absence from school, Scarlet returns and socializes normally with Victoria. A couple of days later, Victoria is nearly attacked by a coyote at the school parking lot, and Scarlet intentionally kills the beast by attacking it and with the largest knife she can get her hands on. The subsequently refuses to explain his actions to Victoria and warns her about befriending her. Samson then tells Victoria about a long-standing animosity between the Nashes and the Moralities, and says that Nashes is not allowed on the reservation. After so much research, Victoria concludes that Scarlet's family and the band of psychopaths that escaped from the asylum around 2006, and she eventually confirms this, but he does say that it won't kill her, since she's deemed to be her special. Scarlet then introduces Victoria to her psychological family at her home, which was quite literally a house in the woods. Thomas in the family portrait is the cook at the restaurant Tar Heel Barbecue. I use Google Map, trust me, it's a real place. Connie Asson is Thomas's wife and a family Mardax. Now Harold, Jasper, Elliot, and Rose are their children, and the family's reaction to Victoria is mixed. Concerned that the family's secret would be exposed that would camouflage their bloodlust, I then looked into this and it's actually pretty decent. I enjoyed the typical humor in the cartoon that had to show, and I liked the idea of a normal teenager trying to survive a family of serial killers. But when it comes to Disney, the villains are usually animals, and they're evil and templess demons or dragons. This time this was a fan-made Disney film, and the villains are real-life psychopaths. Believe me, the characteristics of these antagonists are as what you expect in a serial killer. They were inhabited of violating the degrees of mental illness of psychopathy, now which may be contribute to their behavior. Take Texas Chainsaw Massacre for example. In Kim Newman's view, Toby Hopper's presentation of the Sawyer family was during the diner scene of parodies a typical American sitcom family. The gas station owner was bread-winning father figure, the killer, Leatherface, that speaks by the Bourage's housewife. The hitchhiker acts like a rebellious teenager, Isabel Cristina Pandino, the author of recreational terror, the woman of the pleasures of horror, film viewing the states, and even the horror game must keep on the terror, and the comedy intentions successfully to tread a thin line that separates the form of terrorism and parody. Now, the delicate balance is as struck as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is in the decaying corpse of Grandpa, not only incorporates the horrific humorous effects, but actually uses the extradable lever. In the film, the Nash family then continues to hide their murderous incident by acting like a normal family. That is until the film reaches to its 2-hour mark and they slowly begin to reveal their intentions towards Victoria, and they begin to reveal their born son, Lufer. Lufer, holy crap, this character is so terrifying. He even will scare the crap out of Freddy Krueger. The character for Lufer Nash resembles a tall, lanky young man wearing tattered clothes, which is to be due to being locked in the basement for a long time. His messy black hair then went all either way, and his eyes were yellow and jaundiced with red cracks all over them. His teeth were rotten and disgusting orange, and his skin was ghastly gray, but that's not the scariest part. The scariest part is his face, or lack of. The skin was then surgically carved, and he was wearing his own decomposing face as a mask, and with the facial tissue clearly visible underneath the fleshy garment. And what made him more bone-chilling was the underneath the mask was the own skull face with the lack of eyelids, which is for some reason his eyes were never closed, and his mouth, which is however exposed of rotting teeth, only move up and down when talking, much to like a ventriloquist dummy from hell. When I saw this, I nearly crapped myself. I mean, looking at Lufer would definitely give me a horror fan nightmares for months to end, and when it looked like a cross between Joker, when his face was cut off, and Bray Wyatt from WWE as the Fiend, as he spoke with a raspy quiet, he would sound very shaky and hysterical due to his insanity. It's clear that the paranoia, schizophrenia, there was so much in the scene that that Victoria must feel that Lufer is near the climax of the movie, as he cornered her in the basement with a large carving knife that he would get to her with the knife, and singing away in a lunatic world speak. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. As expected in any slasher film, Victoria got out of there along with the rest of the Nash family after her with her vicious intent. Behind them was Lufer, but he wasn't running, he was walking, with that large knife still in his fist, and he continued singing, London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. The family then chased her through the woods for about an hour, till she hid behind an oak tree, where they ran past her, and she's clear that they will find her. The chase then continues again and again. As expected in any slasher film, the family gets killed off one by one. Victoria then finally gets stalked by Lufer as he sings, London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down. As she continues to look around for the pitch black forest, she runs into him and now shouts, growling deep voice that sounded like a heavy metal singer, My fair lady. He then stabs her multiple times, rendering her into shock, but the knife was jammed now, and then she began to knock her down in a violent sucker punch to the jaw. Then he started to attack her face like a rabid animal, till a gun sound effect was heard and blood spatters everywhere and falls dead. Wounded Victoria looked up at Samson with this screen scenes with a sniper rifle and goes to check on Victoria. He calls 911 and Victoria is taken to the ambulance. She wakes up in the hospital and embraced by her parents, and after that, she continues to attend school, and the movie ends with the shot of Scarlett and Thomas surviving their deaths as they stalk Victoria in the bushes. I must admit that the Disney-based horror film was awesome, but if Disney made something like this, they would have get a heavy amount of backlash from fans and families alike. I commented on his piece of artwork saying that was scary as hell. The next day I went to the site once more, but it was taken down by Demon Punk himself. I asked him why, he replied saying that he took it down due to other Disney fans being shocked and appalled by what the content has to offer. His reply clearly is understandable. I mean, if any kid were to come across something like this, they'd be already traumatized for their life due to the blood, guts, and even large amounts of brain being splattered on the walls. Not only that, but the antagonists of the movie were psychotic, and the character for Lufer was the worst of the bunch. He makes Jack the Ripper look like Homer Simpson. I remember asking him for the movie to upload to YouTube, but he denied the request, saying that it would result in angry parents purging his channel like Sauron's army. And for me, of course, I finally got myself a job, and I'm official cashier at 7-Eleven. I'm gonna go ahead and end this on a high note. If you want to create a fan-made animation based on Disney or DreamWorks, go right on ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But if it has blood and guts, just remember that you're not going to get the response you wanted when it comes to either fanboys or overly protective parents. What Count Dracula had said in his review of I Spit in Your Grave, horror movies work by trying to get its close-up at the raw culture nerve as much as possible, by taking the advantage of society's fears and anxieties, particularly as those of these times were made. I still remember Demon Punk's film and what was presented to me before, even though it made me really uneasy. I loved it as a YouTube video. Despite the negative response and sensitive parents and fanboys, maybe one day Demon Punk would suck it up and upload it to YouTube as a means to say, hey, who cares to those oversensitive autistic fanboys and parents, and gain millions of views and reaction videos. But nevertheless, it's just going to remain anonymous to this day. And that, my little pretties, was Disney's House in the Woods. I guess you could say a Disney creepypasta written by The Dark Cat. My final thoughts on the story. I gotta say, this is actually a pretty good creepypasta. I'm not gonna lie. This is actually a really well-made creepypasta. Now, I could definitely say that, this actually has a pretty good story. It's not like your typical Lost episode story. Well, it kind of is a Lost movie creepypasta, but except it's not like a Lost episode creepypasta, filled with cliches or anything like that. No, it's not any of like that, which I definitely have to say that's good because, I found this on the Goshia's Lost Episode Wiki, and I decided, what, I will go ahead and, have a, check it out of this movie. well, this pasta. So I decided to go ahead and do this read this pasta, because why not? It actually looks pretty good. So I definitely would have to say that this one actually provided pretty good detail for, what this pasta tend to be. Now, I really do like that this story went out. It's pretty well made. I really do find this one to be a very enjoyable story. Now, this story, I would have to say, was really amazing and really well done to read. I really do find this one to be, oh my goodness, it was a really amazing and detailed story. Now, I definitely am going to say here and say this right now, that this one was definitely a really, really funny story, especially of how it all went out. It's a really well-made story, so it's pretty awesome, to say the least. I really do like how this all went out. It was a pretty well-made story. Like, basically, it involves, the protagonist, meets somebody online that does, Disney movies, fan-made Disney movies, and make this as a Disney horror movie. And I have to say, it's really messed up. Like, I was, very surprised of how messed up it is. Like, it was very good detailed. Like, it was really well detailed. So, that I'm definitely saying, that it's really well detailed, and it's really amazing. Like, I really like how this is, all detailed in a very good way. Like, it's very, very detailed and really well made. I really have to say that I really do appreciate the grammar being good in this story, along with the sentence structuring and the paragraph structuring. Like, I mean, if Disney were to actually sit there and make a movie like this, I have no doubt that parents would be going off on Disney like crazy if they were to sit there and do that. Like, take a look at the Wicked Witch of the West, Sesame Street episode, for example. After that was aired once, a lot of parents went bat crap crazy, because they all saying that, their kids wouldn't watch Sesame Street because of the Wicked Witch. But I could definitely say, if kids were to actually watch, a film that was made like that, I have no doubt that, parents would be on Disney like crazy. Like, oh my goodness. I definitely know Disney would never air something like this or make something like this that is made in the pasta. But I definitely would have to say that, if anyone is a fan of Disney, that I can honestly see that. Like, I've seen a few, horror movie parodies of Disney, I believe. I think it's on YouTube or something. I believe I found a few of them. Like, for example, Robot Chickens actually did a parody of a couple Disney movies and that, and I have to say that's pretty funny, because that's been done for adult humor. Same thing would be for Family Guy, because Family Guy has done something like that too. And I believe Simpsons also did that, but however, I could be wrong, because I haven't really keep up with the Simpsons or Family Guy, anything like that. I don't really keep it up nowadays. But getting back to the story, it's really amazing that the protagonist, who basically asks this user on DeviantArt about the animation, he did pretty good. So I have a theory as to who this user was that the protagonist was talking about. My theory is that the protagonist was talking about, talking to this one guy user on DeviantArt. I have a feeling that the user on DeviantArt was a executive of Disney, maybe a executive of Disney, the one who makes, these Disney films and all that. And then after the protagonist watched the film that he made, he took it down because he was afraid of getting backlash. I have a feeling that could be a possible theory. I'm not really sure if that's true, but if the Dark Cat sees this, maybe he could, explain it, because I have a feeling that could be the case. Like, that's a pretty good theory as to what I have, but if the Dark Cat ever were to find this narration of it, I'm pretty sure that he might be able to explain it better. But yeah, I'll wait for him to, come into my comment section, then he could probably give me an explanation on that, but that's just what I think. But if you agree with this theory, just let me know in the comments below, because I would really like to hear that. Now, the only thing I could say that I wasn't really crazy on the story would have to be, let's see, the fact that, the person, won't upload it to YouTube or anything like that. Like, even if he were to upload it to YouTube, I have a feeling, that, parents would sit there and, get angry, and they start, I guess, kind of framing this person, or not the protagonist, but the person, Demon Punk or something, who made the film to get a lawsuit or something. I have a feeling that if he were to upload that to YouTube, that could be a possibility, but yet again, I'm not really sure. But anyways, I guess that's just all I have to say. I don't really have anything much to say right now, but yeah. Anyways, with that being the case and that being said, I'm going to sit here and say this right now, like I'm always going to continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be, I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty good story. It was very good and well made. It had a really good factor into it. It's pretty believable, and I definitely would have to say that this story was actually pretty good. Like, if Disney were to make, like, a horror movie, like, you know, done in a Disney style, there's no doubt that parents would be, you know, all on them, like, you know, on their butts for that. Because, you know, I know Disney wouldn't do anything like that, but that's could be, you know, a possibility if that were to happen. Well, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but who knows? But, you know, I'm not a maker, a Disney movie maker, so, yeah, I don't make Disney movies. I'm not an executive, so, yeah, I can't really answer too much. But anyways, with that being the case, and that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me now with your thoughts down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so when I upload, then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm